North, in your work at the NSC, were you not assigned at one time to work on plans for the continuity of government in the event of a major disaster?
Mr. Chairman.
I believe that question touches upon a highly sensitive and classified area, so may I request that you not touch upon that, sir?
I was particularly concerned, Mr. Chairman, because I read in Miami papers and several others that there had been a plan developed by that same agency, a contingency plan in the event of emergency that would suspend the American Constitution. And I was deeply concerned about it and wondered if that was the area in which he had worked. I believe that it was,
may I most respectfully request that that matter not be touched upon at this stage. If we wish to get into this, I'm certain arrangements can be made for an executive session.
Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. Shalom. What is started by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Racha Kodash. Double honors to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. All right, so Brother Aharon coming back at you with a quick lesson. Lord willing to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. All right, and I believe next week they're going to be having some form of Democratic National Convention. All right, and I believe it's going to be held out in Chicago. All right, I'm not sure if it's next week or the week after, but there's a Democratic National Convention coming up. All right, and Chicago, for the most part, in recent weeks, has been in the news, right? If you're paying attention, you've been hearing a lot about Illinois and so on and so forth. All right, and Chicago is in Illinois. Now, even going all the way back to April 8th, where they had the whole eclipse, right, and how it's going through the different states called Nineveh, right? You have one of the states called Little Egypt that was out in Illinois. Okay, now I'm going to get a quick precept here. All right, because they send something up, and that's all going to be in line with biblical prophecy going into race wars, civil war, and so on and so forth. All right, here's a book of Isaiah chapter 19, start off at 1. It says, "The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord Yahweh rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it." All right, and this Egypt is talking about modern day America, Babylon the Great. Okay, it's another parabolic / symbolic / mystery, all right, identification of America, Babylon the Great. Okay, because just like how Egypt was the burden of the Israelites, the modern day Egypt has been the burden of the modern day Israelites today, otherwise known as the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. Verse 2, it says, "And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians." Okay, that's going into a civil war. Okay, the right versus the left. Okay, "And they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom." Okay, so that's what we're preparing to see, all right, very soon. Now, obviously, as is biblically prophesied to happen, you also have the left-hand side powers that are aligning to bring these things to fruition. Okay, so let's read this real quick. It says, FF, otherwise known as false flags, and the politics of chaos. Pallets of bricks discovered near DNC protest zones. Is Chicago setting the stage for orchestrated chaos and manipulated, or it says, and political manipulation? It says, bricks are showing up near Chicago's DNC protests. Coincidence or calculated chaos? It says, uncover the explosive truth behind J.B. Pritzker's involvement and the dark forces aiming to turn peaceful protests into violent clashes. Get ready for the real story. Let's read. In a shocking revelation that threatens to unsettle the already tense atmosphere surrounding the upcoming Democratic National Convention in Chicago, a credible source within the Chicago Police Department has confirmed the discovery of pallets of containers of bricks strategically placed near protest sites. The implications of this discovery are profound, stirring memories of similar incidents from previous years that turned peaceful protests into chaotic battlegrounds. The question now is, are we witnessing a mere coincidence, or is this part of a more sinister plan? And how does J.B. Pritzker, the controversial governor of Illinois with alleged ties to a brick company, fit into this narrative? Very interesting. Very interesting. It says, when it comes to protests, particularly those in politically charged environments like the Democratic National Convention, the presence of bricks, tools easily weaponized in the heat of a riot, raises immediate red flags. The discovery of these pallets near designated protest areas isn't just a logistical concern, it's a harbinger of potential violence. Okay? And we've been saying that in order for them to kick the ball down the road, they have to have some form of mandates or legislations. All right, that's basically the vehicle to push for a new draconian society, a police state, if you will. Right, you have to have order from chaos. Okay, and the chaos doesn't have to happen organically. Most of the time, the chaos that you see is manufactured. It's manipulated. All right, and done behind the scenes. Okay, and they bring it out with so many different ways. All right, but we're now paying attention. We're seeing, because back in 2020 it was George Soros behind that shit. Okay, and now he might still very well be behind it. Who knows? Maybe the potential actors who are in this whole thing, or those who are going to be on the inside, the what they call what's that shit called? Damn. Controlled opposition. Okay, they put them in there. Those are what they call agents, right? Agenters, all right, or agenters who come in there and agitate the crowd, right? They set shit up and then the crowd reacts to it. Okay, so continuing, it says, imagine this. It says tensions are high, crowds are large, and emotions are running wild. In such a scenario, the sudden availability of bricks could easily escalate a peaceful demonstration into a full-blown riot. Right, if you're in a mental asylum, what do you expect? You just provide them with the weapons and they'll do the rest. Okay? It says the strategic placement of these materials begs the question, who benefits from the chaos? Right? Cui bono? Who stands to benefit? Okay? It says the timing and location of these pallets suggest a premeditated effort to disrupt and discredit the legitimate protests expected during the DNC. This isn't the first time such incidents have been reported, leading many to suspect a pattern, if not a deliberate strategy, to incite violence during politically sensitive events. J.B. Pritzker and his alleged brick company ties. Is this a coincidence, or is this some form of conspiracy? All right, let's read. Governor J.B. Pritzker, a man who has often found himself at the center of controversy, is now being linked to this unfolding drama in a rather suspicious way. Rumors have circulated for some time that Pritzker, the multi-millionaire governor of Illinois, has interests in a brick company. It's crazy because there was a time in this country where if you served in public office, you didn't have any type of, personal assets like that. You were put in place by the people for the people. So you had certain laws that kept all these kind of things in check, But when you have the people who are in the executive branch, the people who are in the judicial branch, the people who are in the legislative branch, all being picked or handpicked and chosen, all right, to fulfill a certain agenda, they all tend to work together, right? That's why you have the Supreme Court, which is supposed to be part of checks and balances, right? They'll end up approving a so-called law passed by the executive branch, which laws can only be, are supposed to be only passed by the legislative, right? Congress is supposed to be passing laws, but here it is. You have the executive, which will be the president and his cabinet. They bring laws around. They pass laws now. They bring executive orders and so on and so forth. So we live in this whole American system. The facade is falling off. All right, the blindfold is coming off. And they do all these things for so long. People don't even know how the government actually operates. So when these things are being played out, people don't really know what is the barometer, what's the measuring tool. They don't really have anything to look at and use as a reference. You see, the only ones that you can use as a reference is the men of the Lord, who bring out the truth, not only from what's happening around you and explaining it, but also tying it into scriptures and bringing you the biblical prophetic aspect of all these things. You see, so Esau is trying to cut away, that level of understanding by bringing about the famine of the word, calling the truth hate. So now he's justified in removing all forms of hate. You see. And once he removes the men of the Lord out the way, it's going to be a straight bloodshed everywhere, man. Okay? Because there'll be no one to call them out on their BS. All right? The true checks and balances. Okay? The like the apostle Tahar said yesterday, all right, the sentinels. Okay? The true sentinels are the men of the Lord. We are the ones on the watchtower giving the warning. Okay? So these things that's happening around the world, or even here in America, all right, we know it's going to get worse. But the Kickstarter to it, most people don't even pay attention to. That's why it's going to happen to them suddenly, okay, because they're not paying attention to the cues. They're not paying attention to the signs, okay? They call everything a conspiracy, or they just turn around and look someplace else, some form of distraction, But this is going to hit him like a ton of bricks. No pun intended. All right, so let's continue. It says rumors have circulated. Oh, we read that. It says, while it might be easy to dismiss these rumors as conspiracy theories, the current situation forces us to ask, is there any truth to these claims? Consider the implications. A governor, already under fire for his handling of state affairs, right? So you got a corrupt governor, and then you got a corrupt mayor, Lightfoot. I don't know if she's still the mayor. I believe she still is, right? I think that's a guy. Yeah, it's a whole, like a raccoon that got beat up, found his way into some type of trap and escaped. Lost hair. The head is the side of the head is bald, and then lost some tooth. Limping because the hand is broken. It's like she got beat up somewhere. And then they just present it to you. Like, who the hell is you? How are you a mayor looking like that? You look like you were just rescued from some form of mine, like a gold mine or some shit. Like you were just stuck down there for days. And they just found your ass and pulled you out and said, hey, you're going to be the mayor of this city. That's how some of these people just pop up. They just spawn them out of midair. It's like, hey, you going to be there. Bring some chaos, so we could bring the order. You saw what she was doing and the kind of policy she was pushing during the CV, right? You got to wear your mask. You got to do this. You can't go out. There's a curfew. If we see you partying or getting together as a family, we're going to send the troops who going to come grab you, Meanwhile, she out here spending the people's money and doing all sorts of crazy ass shit, be hypocritical as all hell. They had one of her cars or her driver or some shit. That nigga was like zooming past traffic and shit, racking up speeding tickets. I'm like, yo, So for these people, the law don't apply to them. See, and people are waking up to it. That's why it tells you. It says in 2nd Ezra that they shall not regard their kings nor princes. Because all these things is building up, and people be like, yo, what's going on? Especially now that they do it out in the open, people can see this shit, man. It says, where we at? It says, go down a little bit right here. It says, if true, it says, okay, right here. Consider the implications. A governor, already under fire for his handling of state affairs, allegedly has ties to a company that produces bricks that are now found near protest sites just before a major political event. If true, this connection would not only be ethically questionable, but could also point to a more profound orchestrated effort to stir unrest. However, without hard evidence linking Pritzker directly to these bricks, we can only speculate. But the mere association raises enough questions to warrant further investigation. Is Pritzker merely a convenient scapegoat, or is there something more insidious at play? Insidious, all right? It says the discovery of bricks near protest sites in Chicago during the DNC isn't the first of its kind. In fact, it echoes eerily similar incidents from 2019 and 2020, where pallets of bricks were found mysteriously placed in various cities just before or during protests. These incidents were widely reported, yet never fully explained, leaving many to wonder whether these coincidences were indeed orchestrated events designed to incite violence. In 2020, during the height of the Black Lives Matter protests, numerous reports surfaced of bricks being strategically placed in protest zones across the country. Many of these protests, which began peacefully, devolved into violent clashes between demonstrators and law enforcement. You see? So if that happens again, this time they're not going to just let it slide. If that shit happens again, you best believe it's going to permeate throughout the whole entire country, because in 2020, people were not as desperate and as broke as they are today. Okay? So they're not going to be sitting down, especially if you add the factor of so-called migrants coming into this country undocumented and being aided. All right, that's going, man, look, this place is about to get turned upside down. Okay? And like I said, I've said this and I'm going to say it again. I don't believe through the spirit that we're going to have an election, but we will see. Okay? That's just my personal, if it happens, it happens. They might just do some mail-in ballots or digital, some form of digital shit, because it's a big enough event for them to use and capitalize if there's some form of chaos that comes out of it. Right? Never let a good crisis go to waste. Continuing, it says, many of these protests, which began peacefully, devolved into violent clashes between demonstrators and law enforcement, with bricks being used as weapons. Okay? The lack of accountability for these incidents and the absence of a clear explanation only fueled the flames of conspiracy theories. Now, as we approach another major political event, the appearance of these bricks once again raises alarms. Are we witnessing a repeat of history? And if so, who is behind this seemingly deliberate attempt to turn peaceful protests into violent confrontations? All right. False flags and the politics of chaos, a Chicago specialty. Interesting. It says the term false flag refers to acts committed with the intent of disguising the actual source of responsibility and blaming another party. The presence of these bricks near DNC protest sites in Chicago fits the narrative of a classic false flag operation. The goal? To delegitimize the protests, paint demonstrators as violent extremists, and justify a heavy-handed response from law enforcement. There you go. Okay, we need to crack down on all this violence, just like what you see in the UK. Okay, you got people going back and forth, and then they're going to turn it into some form of, oh, you people who are online and you're fueling this type of hate, look what you've done. We're coming after everyone who is online, sharing these videos, inciting these videos. And if you were in these places in Chicago, we're going to use the fullest extent of the law and come after all of you people. That's just like you see in the UK, it's going to be everywhere. Okay. It says Chicago, a city with a long history of political corruption and manipulation, has often been the stage for such operations. Let me see. Hold on one second. All right. From the infamous 1968 Democratic National Convention, where protesters clashed violently with police, to more recent events, the city has a dark legacy of political machinations that often spill into streets. The placement of these bricks could be a part of a larger strategy to create chaos, undermine legitimate dissent, and control the narrative surrounding the DNC. If the protests turn violent, it would be all too easy for authorities to crack down on demonstrators, citing public safety concerns. See how easy it is? Very convenient. Problem, reaction, solution. Auto, ab, KO. Okay? It says, in the chaos, which is KO in Latin, that ensues, the real issues at the heart of the protest could be overshadowed by the violence. Okay? As the DNC approaches, tensions are undoubtedly set to rise. The discovery of these bricks is a grim reminder that the discovery of these bricks is a grim reminder that not everything is as it seems, and the forces that play may be far more complex than a simple protest against political figures. The specter of false flags, orchestrated violence, and political manipulations loom large over Chicago, threatening to turn the city into a battleground. Very interesting. It says, let me look something up real quick. Hold on 1 second. The movie Civil War, I think was based in, was it DC? Based in what state? Let me see something. All right, so they're traveling. They traveled from New York City to Washington D.C. I feel like there was a part in the movie that they might have taken the back roads and they went through Chicago or something like that, or there was somewhere in the movie where they mentioned Chicago and they were like, "Yo, it's going crazy over there," some shit like that. I may be wrong, but I feel like I remember something like that. All right. Anyways, let's keep going. All right. Hey, that's enough. Let's continue. It says, for those planning to protest, the stakes are higher than ever. Awareness and vigilance are crucial in these times, and that's why you got to be circumspect, right? Always keep your eyes peeled on everything. Whatever they say, you listen. Whatever they do, you watching. Okay, and then we speak on it. You know, right away we speak on it. You know, it says awareness and vigilance are crucial in these times, as the true intentions behind such sinister discoveries may only become clear in hindsight. It's a time to buckle up, as the road ahead is fraught with potential danger and uncertainty. The discovery of bricks near protest sites isn't just a Chicago issue, it's a reflection of a broader trend that threatens the very fabric of democracy. When peaceful protests are hijacked by violent elements, whether through the deliberate placement of weapons or other means, the message of the protest is lost. Instead of focusing on the issues at hand, the narrative shifts to violence, law enforcement responses, and political grandstanding. Okay? And that's what changes laws as well. It brings new laws and it does away with liberties. Okay? This tactic, whether intentional or not, serves to delegitimize the protest and distract from the real issues. In a democracy, the right to protest is fundamental. But when protests are manipulated or turned violent through outside intervention, that right is undermined. As we approach the DNC, it's essential to remember that the right to protest is a cornerstone of democratic society, but that right is under threat, not just from those who oppose the protests, but from those who might seek to use them for their own ends. In light of these revelations, it's clear that the upcoming DNC in Chicago is not a political event. It's a potential flashpoint for violence, manipulation, and political maneuvering. The discovery of bricks near protest sites is a warning sign, a red flag that demands attention and scrutiny. Whether or not J.B. Pritzker is directly involved, the mere possibility of such a connection is troubling. It speaks to the broader issue of how political figures and their interests can intersect in ways that are not always in the public's best interest. As citizens, blah, 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 it goes into all this BS. But see, Somebody here says on Twitter, a source from the Chicago Police Department has verified that pallets of containers of bricks have been found near locations designated for protests related to the Democratic National Convention. Right? I'm gonna put a nice I might put the link in the description if I don't forget. But yeah, man, they setting things up. All right, they are setting things up, and that's exactly what's going to open up the doors for Second Esdras. All right, the 15th chapter, going into people fighting against each other. All right, let's see. So, book of Second Esdras, chapter 15, verse. Let's read verse. Start at 14. All right, it says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh. It's like it. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." All right, swords simply means weapons, but the number one weapon that people are going to have is guns. Okay, that's how bad and that's how desperate people are going to be. Okay, it says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So this is the beginning of that. If this thing really materializes into what we just read, then it's going to turn into something real bloody. Okay, and they might let that thing rock out for a while just to have a reason to have those draconian measures as a stabilizer to society. Okay, it says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of the pride of the cities," it says, "because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation." Okay? And for great tribulation, man. All right? So that's a signal of trouble. Like Yahushua said, immediately after those days of tribulation, then shall be the Son of Man, the return of the Son of Man. Okay, I believe that's in Matthew, the 24th chapter. All right, so the tribulations are necessary because it's through that is where you're going to see the implementation of the MOTB. Okay, that's as a solution. You see? So yeah, man, we'll keep our eyes peeled on this and we'll see, how this all plays out. Okay, but again, this is all the fall of Babylon the Great. If your basic, things like elections cannot be done peacefully, all right, this is pretty much going to be setting the tone for what's going to be happening in these other countries as well. We don't put it past Esau to, set a stage where, you're just catching the same vibe everywhere, following after the ways of Babylon. Okay. But anyway, I'm going to leave it off there. Lord willing, you are edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash, the water Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. And until next time, Shalom.